We are going live. And we are live. Good evening, the world and Zimbabweans, wherever you may be. And good evening, Wilberts, and good evening, Toko.
Hi.
And
Hello.
I hope you've had
Good evening.
lovely Sundays.
No, it's
You
been
haven't had a
raining.
good Sunday.
It's been raining. It's been storms throughout for the past 48 hours.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, right. We can say that again.
Oh, that's exciting. I love the lightning.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
She does.
I used to tell my kids, they used to say, "Oh, Mum, we're scared of the lightning." I said, "No, why are you scared of the lightning? That's just God lighting his cigar."
That's a good word. That's a good word.
And the thunder, and they used to all come running, okay, and jump on my bed or wherever I was in the lounge or wherever. Oh, Mommy, there's thunder. What are you people so scared for? That's God moving his furniture. He's tired of it being in the same place. Oh, okay, Mommy. Then he must be like you. That's what they used to tell me.
Yes.
My husband used to say, I hate coming home because I'm never sure which door I'm going to walk into or what I'm going to fall. Anyway, so tonight, lady and gentlemen, you wish to discuss who is going to save Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Sounds like a good discussion.
Yes, it does. Okay. Over to the two of you. Wilbert, would you like to start? I'll be generous and have men first tonight.
Okay, all right. Who is going to save Zimbabwe? I think that is a $1 million question, because I honestly don't think at the present moment on the political stage we've got anyone who has got a focused idea what they are doing, let alone that whatever they are proposing will save Zimbabwe. Personally, at the present moment, the way I see it, the main solution that is being pondered around by the political players and the ordinary Zimbabweans is this issue of the dialogue between the political parties. I honestly don't see what that dialogue will achieve. And at the present moment, MDC particularly have said they were not joining the dialogue, and they want their own dialogue with ZANU-PF, where the ultimate result will be that they form a government of national unity or some power sharing arrangement of some sort. Again, I don't see how that is going to solve anything, because I don't think the new GNU would do any better than the GNU that we had in 2008 to 2013. It failed to implement any meaningful reforms, and hence the reason why ZANU-PF was able to come back in 2013 and rig those elections, and also to rig last year's elections. I know that the MDC have said, oh, they will ask, they'll get ZANU-PF to implement comprehensive reforms. One has got to ask why they failed to get any, not alone comprehensive, just any, even one single reform implemented during the last GNU. Then they had the advantage that they had the majority in parliament, they had the majority in the Senate, they had the majority in the cabinet. Yes, Mugabe had the presidency, but nonetheless, the reforms themselves were supposed to go through parliament, so any member of parliament could have proposed it. And they also had the advantage of SADC, who were the guarantor of the global political agreement that was signed in 2008. And I've been critical myself of SADC, but one thing I have got to say, and I'll say it again, is that SADC did try their best to get MDC to implement the reforms during the 5 years of 2008 to 2013. And nothing happened. And Chamisa himself, 2 weeks ago, when he was launching his reload proposal, which is part of this program to force ZANU-PF to go into this new government of national unity, he did admit that they went into the GNU in 2008 to 2013, and they said, and I'm quoting him here, they said, ate, and did nothing. So to think that without SADC, with ZANU-PF with a 2/3 majority in parliament, in the Senate, and ZANU-PF will still have the presidency in the new GNU, that MDC will somehow manage to get comprehensive reforms implemented, I think it's a non-starter. It's just a waste of time. So we are looking at a situation here where we will have the GNU run for the remaining 4 years, and at the end of the day, ZANU-PF will rig the elections as before. So in my view, at the present moment, there is no one of the political actors who have got any idea what to do to save the country. And I don't see how the country is going to be saved with the present situation. Over to you, Toko.
Yeah, I agree with you to a certain extent. And just a few areas I think that I kind of don't agree with you. So I'll start from the beginning. So let's get one thing clear. Why is it Chamisa hasn't been able to even move an inch? The answer is ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is good. Let's look at the systems in place at the moment. Be it judiciary, be it health, be it anything really. ZANU-PF have managed to just, it's ZANU-PF. It's an extension of ZANU-PF, really. So anything that goes wrong, whether you go to court, whether you do what, it's not going to happen because it's ZANU-PF. And not only that, ZANU-PF have managed to actually do something that is almost impossible in most democracies. And that is to really entrench itself, use intellectual, what can I say? People are so educated in such a manner that in specific areas to actually be the gatekeepers. It's like somebody putting their foot on the door and literally saying, you're not opening this door. Initially it's the foot, then they put the wedge, and then eventually, for just to call, for sure, they kind of just, wedge it and then they move away. Like, the door is open. It just give an illusion of we're kind of a democracy. When that has happened, the fact that people don't acknowledge that ZANU-PF is a dictatorship, and they've managed to do it in such a way that rarely do you hear people talk about dictatorship. Rarely. When we talk about, like Sally was saying earlier on before we started, people talk about ZANU-PF as if, it's you're talking about Botswana, or you're talking about, some of those African countries where there's democracy now. It's not. Stop normalizing ZANU-PF. They're not normal. Not only, so in the Southern African region, unless if I'm mistaken, there's never been a coup, except in Zimbabwe. And they even managed to convince people that it was not a coup. Yet today, we have evidence that we are under coup because the military was used to go and slaughter people. So I want anybody to come and challenge me and say, you're wrong, and show me where there's democracy, where the military was used to go and slaughter people and then have a president who says, and still you see people kind of going, oh, here we go, and giving them my nicknames are normalize things like varakashi, you know, vanorakashachi. If it's not good, vanourayavan. Once you acknowledge a problem, then you kind of have a clear vision of what really is happening around you. By mere effect of not only acknowledging the things that I've just described, it actually gives cover for ZANU-PF to continue doing the things that they've been doing. The most, you know, we are like Congo in so many ways. Unfortunately, because there's so much natural wealth, and those people have access to that wealth, they have the machinery to stay in power. And usually people who stay in power, they are helped by ignorant people who are just selfish. At times it's just following. So it's like a cult, you know, where people are told, yeah, the sun comes from this end and, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, we just throw a few bits and pieces to you guys. That is, if you look at those student leaders, the real student leaders, with ZANU-PF, look at Kuti Anengaka Guta say, Matama. You know, then you trickle down, you find my activists and follow over ZANU-PF. They don't have much. They're just fighting over the scraps. And then when we are talking about fighting the scraps, they are depriving from the very people that kushaya mari, yekutenga ching. So let's backtrack again. What ZANU-PF has managed to do, and people kind of go, yeah, you know, things happen. So Zimbabwe is in a terrain, very fertile land, very fertile land. There is no reason Yekuti people should not even have wheat. Wheat was grown from Mondore and Kampuyangu, Vairima wheat. Yet that was not really the land you wheat. I went to Chinoi High. I remember every year ndichenda kuChinoi High, my farms ese from the fringes of Harare kunosvika wapinda muChinoi, kunosvika wanoenda kuKaroi, kunosvika wanopinda muZambia. It was wheat and corn. And all those things, when people become blind followers who do not look at the genesis of issues and say, hang on, this is wrong, and then say, enough, you know, come on, that's it. So when people say, oh yeah, you know, Chamisa is the knight, you know, knight on a shining, on a white horse and shining armor and Jesus, stop doing that. You are putting the burden on one person. Akuna muna kamakwa fanika Chamisa. Look at how they managed to discredit somebody who was really credible. Pastor Mawiri. Was it Pastor Ainzan?
Evans Mawarire.
Is it Mawarire?
Yeah, Mawarire.
Mawarire, okay. Do you remember how, by virtue of removing his family, and I think his wife was pregnant then, seeking shelter, by virtue of seeking shelter, that was spanned so much. And people bought it. Even MDC, they bought it. That's how good ZANU-PF is. Look at how anybody who tries to rise up, strip pins washing machine dry. By the time you come out, ulingo study kind of politics. So when that happens, and that is classical dictatorship. If anybody really wants to go back, I want to dictatorship, what are the signs of dictatorship? And Zvinozofamba say historically, say how did my dictators end? They always end in two ways. One, the leader offer either by assassination or kurwara, panika zvakaita uyiwe kuMalawi. The other one is whereby pressure, international pressure, you force my elections. Then people grab those opportunities. What we are reclaiming. My ballots, tisutukwa gada. Imimi, yes, you're going to do. As this is what ningetiripo. Amunze zvakapusa fanika ijojo. people actually take back their power. So I'm going to remind you of one history lesson that I learned. I was really young, and I remember waking up in the morning, TV, and that stuck with me. And that's why I always wanted to be a lawyer. I remember I was very young, waking up, and the Ceausescus, it was Christmas, I think, vachiuraiwa. The Ceausescus were really nasty. Dictatorship in Europe, yaichikiwa. And what then happened was people just decided, where they were like, that's it, we've had enough. And nothing good comes out of dictatorship. But it takes good men and women who are not self-serving. You know what? Enough of this. Hakuna power changes that happen without people actually stepping up. Nigeria. People watch Nigerian movies, and I think at times we follow the storyline, but we don't learn culture. One thing that has always stood out for me whenever I watch Nigerian movies for escapism reasons is, if you notice, my youth are actually the ones, whether it's village, whether it's chiva, that is wrong. Wrong, if something is wrong, you're wrong, and then things escalate from there, king or chief, and then from there things just go on and on and on. If you look at how for dictatorship in Nigeria, late 90s, I think it was, where that army officer I think and then again it was uprising, where people just said that's enough. When people are starved and people don't stand up, you know what, but can starvisa, that's wrong. When somebody wrote a very sad article, one of the nurses group, where mwana akafa because awiyasina kendo ku wange clinic. Anybody who read that article, I mean, I was touched. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. I can imagine because my wasina kendo. I mean, which part of the world does that still happen in this day and age, where you can get lighting solar, what you call lamp? It's almost like $5, but that is out of reach of normal people, because ZANU PF yaba even chikafu chirumukanwa mako, ZANU PF inokubira. And because people are so complacent, so British, you know what, we are gentlemen, we can sit and talk. And you know what, in Inika, I love my luxury that much. I'm not going to sacrifice mwana wangu or even in Nina ndikuda kunyara. Iwo chamisa ndinenge nchimwenda pa Facebook nchiti pamberi na chamisa. And that's it. I'm not going to contribute anything more. To show you mentality of Zimbabweans, how so self-defeating it is. About 4 weeks ago, you remember one of the ministers was beaten up supposedly in Naiso Shoving in India Katanga Kurova. I can imagine somebody judging Rova. I don't think they'll live to say it. I don't care man or woman. But never mind that, the fact these people were demonstrating, and they had the audacity to demonstrate, right? And then people were prepared to name and shame those people who were demonstrating and abused. Hey, and you're like, really? We saw better than, and we don't demonstrate. Why then complain about ZANU PF if you can't even support the very people who are putting themselves in front? In Britain, I remember, because I was so upset, even though I was really tied up at work. I remember phoning into one program where I discussed that, and I said, "You're so full of it. Change mukatarisa ku Britain, the suffrages, women. Yakaitika kuma what? 1800s or something like that. It was women who protested. One of them akatofa apinda mu horses angachirana, and that is how change started. Women were there stripping, bras and so forth and so on and so on. People made fun of them, but they persisted and change happened. Some of them were prosecuted. That is change, where people are willing to say enough is enough. When you can't even demonstrate peacefully in your own country, that's dictatorship. What is it that people are not getting? How do people get educated about some of these basic, really as basic as eating things? If you lack basic knowledge, hakuna chinhu chinouraya vanhu like ignorance. When you lack basic knowledge of understanding when somebody is taking away your power, then you remain disempowered, and then you can't complain. You can't complain and expect change. Azvina sense izvozvo kana one time. So in summarizing this, I'm saying change comes from people supporting supporting my grassroots activists, supporting each other as a community, grassroots level, and rising up with one voice. You can't expect it, like you said, SADC. SADC is a toothless dog. Then on top of SADC, there's African Union, toothless dog. Look at how they even refused to sign up this international court, just in case they abuse people. So theoretically, what people have done, and smile and say, we are so educated. And I can tell you, I'll be the first person to tell you, I'm proud of Zimbabwean people. Just about 3 weeks ago, I walked into this office where you don't expect to see Zimbabweans bumping into each other. Really never happens because it's such just a remote area, Yekomes. And there I am, Nrukwita signing, and I see a name that I know. That's a Zimbabwean woman. I know her. So we are so privileged in that sense. But I think education has also fried our brains, because we don't know what the true meaning of saving oneself. You can't save other people when you can't even think about saving yourself. Saving yourself is knowing when you are being abused by people, and then deciding that, why am I even taking this? And these are the steps that I'm going to take. You start mobilizing people, really genuine, really honest, and then using it to your advantage. And because usually that is the case, without ever allowing ZANU PF to infiltrate you. Overseas, I've lived in 5 countries. And in 5 countries, I can literally name 2, 3 people that you know could ZANU PF. And who will report name, dates, and everything. Yet people continue to then allow them to infiltrate, and then they cry amongst themselves and self-destruct. And then they are like, you are fought in Dianing, but never turn around to point a finger to ZANU PF. So after ranting and raving, like I've said, in conclusion, I say people should start by self-empowerment, claiming back what is rightfully theirs. Should never allow anybody to disgrace you to such a manner you live in town. This is 2019, and you have to go and poop in a bush and then wear a suit to go to work. When you are reduced by anybody to such a level, know that the problem is not the person who is abusing you. It is you who is allowing people to abuse you. It is you who should say, suit or no suit. This is the time that I actually mobilize people and say, enough. When you can't find just your basic medication, we are not talking of cancer treatments and everything else. No, we're talking of basic, wherever are dying of guripit. Then you know you are the problem. It's not anybody else. With that, I say thank you for the opportunity to talk.
Brilliant. Amen, sister. Amen. You must have been inside my head.
There you go. There you go.
Because it's what I have said from time immemorial. The people that are going to save, who's going to save Zimbabwe? The povo, the people, no political leader. It's the people. Once the people realize that they've had enough.
Absolutely.
And it's do or die. Look at the people in Sudan. They ain't giving up. You can't get rid of a dictator by hit and run demos.
No.
It doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work. Hit and run demos, oh, you're agitating ZANU-PF. No, you're not. You're giving them power. You're handing them power on a golden platter. Because what do? They allow you to tickle their fancy, okay, for 24 hours, 48 if you're lucky, okay? And then what do? They bring what used to be the Zimbabwean army, which is now the private entourage of ZANU-PF, okay? And the army hits the streets and fires some shots and does all sorts of weird things, and everybody runs away. And what's happened? You haven't agitated ZANU-PF because they don't care. These people are not normal, please. They don't care. They want power, and you are being a menace, and therefore, like vermin. You know vermin, what vermin is? The rats. And Zimbabweans are treated like rats. As soon as they become a pest, eliminate. And that's it. Everything goes back to normal. Then about 3-4 months later, we have another hit and run. It doesn't work. Because you're not irritating ZANU-PF. They don't care what the international community thinks. If they did care, if ZANU-PF did care about what the international community thinks, they would never have put the army onto the street with hired murderers mixed in with the army to shoot at the people on August the, what was it, 3rd, 23rd? When was it? In August, anyway, after the elections. They wouldn't have done that if they cared.
Was it 28th or after 28th?
Yeah, it was in August anyway, okay. And it's not the first time they've done it. Look what they did to the people, okay, in 2013, wasn't it? When they went on that killing and raping rampage during elections. They don't care. Please understand it. No political leader, no Chamisa cult, whatever you want to call it. Nobody's going to save Zimbabwe. The people. And you know, I said I wasn't going to get involved. And there I am, back in the mess again. Ay, ay, ay.
If you don't get fired up when you're talking about ZANU-PF, nothing will get you fired up.
I have been fighting ZANU-PF for 20-something years. And the same words that I used, well, then I was still a little bit innocent, okay, and a little bit scared of them because, boy, they went for me hammer and tongs, okay. Now, hey, bring it on, sunshine. I'll give you my address. Come. Send truckloads. I don't care. Because you know what? My attitude towards you is your attitude towards the people, and I'm tired of it. I've cried on live radio. I've begged. I've done everything. And then we have people like Patrick, what's his name? Not Patrick. What's that guy from Shajamuka? Mwanza or something, okay? We have him going, give ED a chance, give ED a chance, nah. And then what, 6 months later, he's going, oh, get rid of ED, get rid of ED. No, stop misleading the people. Okay, I'll shut up now.
Well, my comment to your two inputs is I agree. I think ZANU-PF is the problem, and I actually would go one step further and say that ZANU-PF is beyond the pale. We are not going to change ZANU-PF. So we have got to look at how are we going to fight ZANU-PF, because we are not going to change them. In this particular case, I think that is where we have failed, because we have had many opportunities to change ZANU-PF and we failed to use them. I agree with Toko there that ignorance is a problem. I think it's a serious problem in Zimbabwe. One of the things that I find absolutely amazing is that after the last year's elections, I can't believe the number of people who do not even know, or to them it's like water off a duck's back when you tell them what is ZANU-PF rigged the elections. 3 million people, even those in the diaspora, are supposed to be better informed than my aunt and my uncle in the rural areas. They do not do anything. They do not react to it. They do not get angry that they vote. Here is a situation where I think without any exception, most of us had a relative who died in the War of Liberation, fighting for us to have the vote. And then when we get the vote, ZANU-PF takes it away from us, and we don't even say what is happening. We don't even protest. We don't even say anything. I think those people who died for us to have that right to vote must be turning in their grave. Why would I want to sacrifice my life to secure you a right, a fundamental right to have a meaningful vote? And then when you are denied that vote, you don't even seem to notice it. I think that is where our ignorance is. I believe that in Zimbabwe, the ZANU-PF dictatorship is, we can say about how cruel they are, but I can tell you something else. They are not smart. They are not clever. The violence that you were talking about there, Sally, 2008, when they carried out the blatant cheating, where they ended up spending 6 weeks recounting 5 million votes. Everybody could see what was happening there. They were cooking up the figures, of course. And then it was followed up by the blatant violence, where they were beating up people, destroying their properties, and over 500 people were killed. And that is the reason why even SADC, which is normally totally blind, if they're cotton wool in their ears, so they don't hear anything, and they've got their mouth clamped, so they don't say anything. But that year, that is the reason why they turned around to ZANU-PF and said, no, we can't recognize you as the legitimate government. And that's forcing Mugabe to sign the agreement to go into the GNU. But that was the opportunity for us to change the regime. And I think this is, again, comes back to what Toko was saying there about ignorance. Even now, with the benefit of hindsight, I can't believe the number of Zimbabweans who still fail to understand what the GNU was about. If you can't understand the opportunity like that, even if another opportunity should come along, you fail to use it again. I think that is where our problem is in Zimbabwe. We have failed to appreciate the opportunity. And I agree with Sally that this waiting until we get really angry and then we go on the street and we have a couple of hours to vent our feelings, and then at the end of the day there's a lot of violence, a lot of people are killed, and nobody, when you went out on the street to carry out those violence, nobody really knew exactly what is it we wanted to achieve. And this is why it is very difficult to sustain those street protests. If you can articulate what exactly you want to achieve, I honestly think that it is easier to sustain it. And that is, I've got a friend, very close friend from Sudan, and I've been in touch with him constantly throughout the last, about Sudan before the street protests and what was happening there. And I've also followed it on the internet. I honestly think that is one area where you see the people of Sudan had a clear view of what is it they wanted. And that is why they've been able to sustain it. I think in our situation, the street protests, even if they come, if they are not properly articulated and people understand what is it exactly they want to achieve, it can easily be hijacked by political opportunists. And when it's easily hijacked by some vandals who will go on the street with a view of causing violence, that is exactly what ZANU-PF have been waiting for. And they've got an excuse now of shooting to kill. And anybody with any sense will be saying, you don't go on the street. If you're going to have, it must be peaceful protest, because you cannot match ZANU-PF's violence if you're going to go for violence, because they've got all the state machinery behind them. So again, I think this issue of ignorance is important. And I agree that in this particular case, we can save ourselves if we address that problem of ignorance. If we take our own self-empowerment, as Toko was saying there, seriously, to the point where we are saying, what is the meaning of an election? What is the meaning of free, fair, and credible election? And I understand that, so that when we go to an election, we can turn around and say, no, this is not a free and fair election. The issue, for instance, on the free and fair election, it is absolutely amazing that even the supporters of the opposition allowed the opposition to take part in those elections when the law is very clear. I have participated in elections in Zimbabwe myself, in a by-election. And I stood in a council election too. The vote is the fundamental document you need for that election. You want to see the voters' roll. You want to see who is on it. Should they be on it? One of the things that I found really annoying when I participated in the council election, which was not as serious as the parliamentary one, is to look at the voters' roll, and then you go to an address with the name of the person. You go there and you find that person is not there. You go to another one, you find that person is not there. And in one of the cases, I found one address where the ZANU-PF candidate was standing for those council election. She owned that little shop. She was doing some hairdressing or something, and then she abandoned it. But she kept the address. And she had registered no fewer than 6 people on that address. It wasn't even a residential address. It was a business address, a one room, which the business now belonged to somebody else. But you can see what she was doing there. She registered them on the same address for the simple reason that she wanted them to vote for her. So a voter's roll is an important document, because if you don't know who is on the voter's roll, how would you know that they have not added in people who should not even be there? How do you know that people who are dead are not on the are still on the voter's roll, so that they will see to it that they vote even from the grave? So for us to allow an election to go through without a voter's roll, this has nothing to do with party political affiliation. This has got to do with free and fair and credible election. Why do we allow it to happen? And yet we did. So I think, to come back to the original topic we're discussing, the way forward, how are we going to free Zimbabwe from the mess it is? I think it can start with us, but it can start with us in terms of being enlightened, taking the issues of our rights and the election process seriously, so that we can demand that the process is transparent. We don't have to get somebody from outside to tell us that these elections will be rigged. We can see it ourselves. We've seen it ourselves happen so many times. And I think that is where our starting point should be.
Okay, thank you, Wilbert. I'm going to tell you guys a little story, a real life story that I ended up in the newspaper about over the 2008 elections. And you guys can think up your closing thing, okay? Right, 2008 elections. I was very involved with some activists here, some activists from America, from the UK, even inside Zimbabwe, okay? And they had approached me because I had a blog, a Zimbabwean blog, where I posted, there used to be a place called Daily something or other that had pictures coming out of Zimbabwe every single day, okay, from all over Zimbabwe. And I used to post the pictures every single day on this blog from the Daily Motion, I think it was. It was a fantastic photo place. And whatever happened in Zimbabwe, I posted, okay, with pictures, brilliant pictures. So anyway, these activists contacted me and I got involved and I started using the blog as a means of getting out to the rest of the activists all over the world, okay? If they wanted certain messages sent out, I'd post it on the blog. Then Justine Makoko got arrested, okay? And she was taken from Harare, I think it was, to Beitbridge. From Beitbridge, we lost her. We couldn't track her, okay? And they said to me, please put out on the blog, people must email bomb and fax bomb these certain government places in Zimbabwe and the embassies. I am blocked by every single Zimbabwean embassy in the world, okay? I cannot email them. I cannot message them. I am blocked because of this bombing. I mean, I bombed these guys, okay? We all did. There was a whole lot of people involved. We bombed these guys that in the end, the phones weren't even working, okay? And we ended up finding Justina Makoko in Kariba. Now, Kariba apparently is a place where CIO take the people and put them into drums of acid once they've killed them off, okay? Anyway, because we'd made such noise and everything, we eventually got her brought back to Harare. In the meantime, when all this was going on, okay, shipment of arms was going to Zimbabwe from China, okay, and it was going to stop off here no, it was Durban. It was going to be unloaded in Durban, okay? So I'm not mentioning any names, but some very deep activists got hold of me and said, listen, can you help us stop these arms being unloaded in Durban? So I said look, this is now serious stuff. I said, I've got to talk to my sister in Zimbabwe first, and I've got to speak to my family, and I've got to let them know what I'm going to be doing, because this could affect them, okay? So I spoke to them, and my sister said, go for it. We've survived before when ZANU has tried to to get rid of you by using us. My family said, go for it. We're grown up, we're adults. We'll make sure that you are safe. So I said, cool. I got hold of the guys. I said, right, I'm in. How? I can't even remember, because the whole thing was so fantastic. I ended up being contacted by Vavi from the biggest trade union group here in South Africa. So I contacted these activists, okay, and I said to them, right, I've got the ear of Vavi. Do you know what happened? Not one single activist that had been contacting me before stood by me. The minute that they heard, now I got the ear of this really important person, they ditched me like hotcakes. And I thought, now I can't, now I'm going to look like a fool. So I took it on. And Vavi listened to me. And he said to me, he said, you are unbelievable. He said, that ship won't unload here. So I said, cool. That ship never unloaded here. The next thing we heard, he contacted me, he said, it's in Angola. He said, don't worry about it. We've got our sisters there in Angola. That ship won't be unloaded. Okay. But now that's telling you, Zimbabwean people aren't ignorant. Zimbabwean people know that the elections are rigged. They know ZANU PF is rubbish. They know all this stuff, but it's easier to avoid it. And after that little episode, when activists contacted me, I told them to go to hell, because I'm sorry, I'm not putting my family on the line, okay? And at the end of the day, I'm the only one that's standing up. They all ran for cover. For what? Don't ask me, because you know what? I never contacted them. I never said to them, how dare you do that? I thought, you buggers, that's fine. That whole thing ended up in the Cape Times here. Okay. I don't know who contacted the Cape Times. I think actually it was my son, because he was friends, my younger son, he was friends with a very well-known reporter that works for the Cape Times, okay? And a story was put up about this. But I said to the woman, I said, it's not me alone, it's activists as well. But they weren't there. So Zimbabweans are not ignorant. They avoid. When it comes to the crunch, where you've got in our face the enemy, they avoid. They're not ignorant. They know. They know. But it takes up too much energy, and it takes up too much time, and it takes up whatever, courage, whatever, I don't know what it is, to confront it and see it through to the end. So that's my history. Why I'd say Zimbabweans are not ignorant. Not at all. They just couldn't be bothered. That's the harsh truth. They couldn't be bothered, because they know they're going to get money from their relatives, or they're going to cross the border, or they're going to jump on a plane and fly out and become an illegal immigrant somewhere, because that's way better than fixing your country. Yeah, I'm cruel. Because you know why? When things were being done, I got ditched like, I swear, like I was a turd all of a sudden. But I didn't back down, because that's not how you do things. That's not how you get an ending to something. Those arms were never ever delivered. A fraction of what was supposed to be delivered got delivered, not the whole shipment. That shipment ended up being sent back to China. And those activists, when it came to the end part, they ran. I had to, you know what Vavi said? Okay. He said, you know, one day I'd like to meet you, Sally. He said, because for a white woman, you're bloody stubborn, he said, and you don't give up. I said, no, I can't give up. How can I give up? If you start something, you've got to finish it. So he said, I've listened to you, he said, and you've cried. He said that we cried together. He said, but didn't stop you. You carried on. I said, yes, because I had a mission to finish, and I had to finish it to get to the end. And the end was those damn shipment of arms went back to China. So there's no ignorance. The truth is they couldn't be bothered because it takes too much energy and it takes a dedication that they don't want to bother with. They'd rather put that dedication into jumping a border or getting on a plane and becoming an illegal immigrant, okay, or waiting for relatives to send money. That's much better. That's where they want to put their energy. It's cruel. Yeah, I'm cruel. I'm a terrible makiwa. I don't care. That's the truth. Okay, finish for me.
Well, my quick comment on that one is, I must admit, I think in 2008, that shipment made big news, and I saw a number of articles on it, and I didn't know that you were involved in it, but I must admit it was one of those articles where saying that was a significant achievement. And to find it was only maybe just one or two people who really stuck out their neck on it. You know, I applaud you 100%.
And you know, when Vavi read and he said, but people are claiming that it was their achievement, he said, and it wasn't, it was you and me. He said, and our brothers and sisters in the trade union movement, COSATU, that's the biggest trade union movement. Okay, they connected worldwide. I said, it doesn't matter. Let them grab the glory. I don't care. As long as the damn stuff didn't go to Zimbabwe, I don't care.
Yeah, my only other comment would be that, you know, what you said there, it's these people, it's not ignorance. I think it is in the end, because when you think that a country like Zimbabwe, where we have been talking about how there's no running water for weeks on end, even months, in a big town setting, you know, where you have hundreds of people or even a million people living in such close proximity, and you don't have such basic services as running water. The hospitals have literally collapsed. At the end of the day, even if some of us have managed to get out of the country, at the end of the day, we still have relatives who are there, who are victims of, who are living in that environment. To say that...
accepting it, Wilbert, accepting it.
Yeah, but in this particular case, to say, I'm out, but if your uncle and your niece ends up being a victim of the situation, is to be ignorant. If you ask me, that is ignorance. You don't understand it, because to be quite honest, I think one of the reasons why I insist it is ignorance is to fail to appreciate, to see those of us who can see from a distance that something is going wrong here. are the ones who have got the voice and who should use that voice. It's like a child of 2 years old, even if I'm not related to that child in any way. The fact that you hear a child is born and dies because there's no basic, something as basic as an incubator in a hospital like Parenyatwa Hospital. You realize when you look at it in a rural setting, I think Toko was talking earlier on about somebody's child died because they didn't have a candle. That's when you realize it doesn't matter. I don't even have to know who that person was. You say to yourself, that could easily have been me. That could easily have been my relative. And if I have got the voice to say this is not right, and I don't say it, that is ignorance at its worst. Because what is the point of being a human being and you can't react to things like that?
Sorry to disturb you. So there's a tornado warning. So just in case if you lose me, it's because, you know, electricity and everything. So there you go.
Are you safe?
Yeah, we're safe. But I think it's nearby because I can hear the sirens going. Can you hear that?
Good. But you're safe.
Yeah.
You're not chancing something just to be on the show.
No. We're good. We're in the house, but you know, Minnesota houses are not they're not brick and mortar, you know, that kind of thing. You never, yeah, because of the snow, it's actually warm.
Have you got a safe room?
Yeah, we have everything. We're good. Thanks. We're good. So,
okay.
Yeah. Another thing, Wilbert, you know, stop making excuses for people. People don't act, even when Selu was talking about how they jumped ship. Zimbabweans are flaky, period.
Yep.
They just don't lack that backbone that you would get. I always refer back to people like the Nigerians who tell you, we're not going to put up with your nonsense, period. End of. They lack that backbone that you would see very independent, you know. At the end of the day, when you look at people and how we react to certain situations, we always go back to what's our culture like? How were we brought up? Zimbabweans have always been, what you call it now? You know, when one family member is very, is dominant, and it's this collective culture whereby every decision is made by Bakuru and all toward the line. You are not really, as children when we were growing up, and even today, and I hope it changes really, we are never really encouraged to spread our wings. People say Americans are arrogant. To a certain extent, they are right. But at the same time, there is no other person who is so empowered as an American child. An American child will challenge your nonsense and tell you that is not factual. Whereas because the Zimbabweans were brought up under the Nankere, no, come on. Sorry about that.
Quite fine.
It's
Is it getting closer?
Well, no. A few other things are happening as well. So Caroline is cooking, and God knows.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, because Zimbabweans, we were brought up patriarchal. So, and not only patriarchal, the British kind of dominated in the sense you could, the gentlemen never raise their voice and you always negotiate. That's why Zimbabweans naturally are not violent people. They're not. Because akuna vanhu vakabatira chirungu vakachinzwisisa fanika maZimbabweans, in the sense that they will avoid confrontation at all. But what they will do, because they're very intellectuals, they will use psychological interventions on you without even realizing that you're being manipulated. You know, what you described, Disalu, is classical manipulation in the sense that people hand you a loaded gun and they step back and they let you do the shooting. If anything, God forbid, had gone wrong, you would be taking the flag. And but because everything went well, they're like, yeah, but we loaded the gun, you know. We did.
Yeah, we are the heroes.
For the gun. I actually sourced for the bullets, and I also oiled that gun to make sure that. And somebody else steps in and says, you know what? I actually taught Sally how to shoot. So if it weren't for me, all this wouldn't ever happen. But that was because only by God's grace it worked. Zimbabweans, naturally, that's why they are where we are. Very manipulative. And also very critical of each other rather than this being supportive. Too competitive for our own good. You hear somebody is doing something, rather than stepping up and saying, you know what, that is a good idea. I'm going to give you, exactly, I'm going to support you. What do you need? And it is genuine without another motive altogether. You rarely get that from a Zimbabwean person. I've lived with Nigerians, I've lived with Kenyans, I've lived with, right now I live with Somalis. There's certain people in life, you know that you can't trust them further than you can throw them, which is no way really. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to say about my brothers and sisters, they are not all of them. There are certain people who are people of integrity. But when it comes to politics, I would say to anybody, because Zimbabweans are flaky, because you don't know who is ZANU PF, at times I also understand people's reluctance to step outside the shell, because they have seen people actually, their lives literally ruined, literally, when they step forward, because ZANU PF is that good. And what I then turn around and say to people is, you know what, one hand, yes, we can excuse you, the other hand, we don't, because within the same community, other people will know what is happening, rather than stepping up and saying, you can't do that. That is wrong. That is somebody. You can do that. And that is my relatives. You know why the three of us are online right now? We could all of us be having our amarulas and eating chibage and mango. There's lots of it's summer for crying out loud. You know, we have everything. So we could all of us be eating whatever we want, drinking and enjoying time with our family. The reason we are not, there is a Shona saying, when you come from home is home. My grandparents are all late. I think, you know, very little family members are still there, but it hurts because that is my identity. That's why we are here where we are. Not necessarily that I'll benefit anything, not necessarily because, you know, I want anything. No, it's basically to just say, how can you do that to such a beautiful country? How can you do that to people who are so helpless? Because like it or not, you and I, we are so privileged.
Of course.
We get to choose what we want to eat, how we want to eat. We actually end up going, oh, you know what, how about you go and get kale and, you know, we eat the tomatoes, and we to make that choice, that is a choice, that is privilege. The very things you and I are saying, I want, you know, my doctors are against, somebody would kill to have just one of those meals per day. So the very fact that then when people step outside of their comfort zone and say, you know what, you better stop, and people then undermine that, that goes back to when you are in bondage and you don't even realize that you are in such deep bondage. When you integrity, when you're a person of morals, because when you look at people like Botswana, well, countries like Botswana, the difference between Botswana and Zimbabwe is very clear. Botswana has more or less Sims, Emma diamonds like Zimbabwe. The difference is why they actually use my resources to upgrade the country. It's integrity. Ubuntu. When you Google that, you know, Ubuntu, you will see it's actually a Southern African. It's not predominantly South African or Zimbabwean. Highwood. It's actually a predominantly Southern African saying that says, you should to feel for the other person. Tichikure, our grandfathers used to say when somebody is passing by the road, the first thing they were given was a cup of water to symbolize we feel for you, you have traveled far and you are welcome, and it's peace. And we recognize that you are also a person, so that when you go wherever you're going, you say, oh, that family, that is a really well-to-do family. But if you look at what is happening today, people don't care about each other. Look at what they're doing to each other, even on Facebook. People can't even go to each other and say, you know what, no, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? How can I help you? It's always about, I want to be on top of the peg. Rather than being a collective people and saying, how can we mobilize? How can we help them? Nema solar lights. Then we ship those solar lights without fear. If we put together $500, cannot be what? Or something. When you have no Ubuntu, the real collectiveness, and that is why people continue talking about corruption and say, hey, corruption. No. Corruption starts with you bribing someone.
Amen.
I want something from you when you know you shouldn't be bribing that person and you can get it and you don't want to stand in the queue. Again, it's about Ubuntu, because if you can't do it in UK to bribe anybody, you can't do it in Australia, you can't do it in States to bribe any government official. What gives you the right to actually bribe somebody in Zimbabwe? So until people get that it's personal accountability and realize that each time you actually partake in any illegal activity, you are not only disempowering yourself, you are disempowering the next person, and it has a ripple effect. And the result of all that corruption is entrenched dictatorship. Until people get that, we will continue every Sunday sitting here and talking and growing old until our grandchildren tell us, you know, Nana, maybe we should be going out and you look after me whilst I'm swimming, because it's not going to go anywhere. And truly, truly, I hope people get opportunities to start really having, rather than just the three of us talking, to really start having dialogues and really genuinely talking about what are the changes that we look at, and how at a personal level, what can we bring to the table to start changes. We can't be, and yes, we are privileged enough to start, you know, putting, having my voices where we are. I'm just a mother who grew up, yes, fair enough, my childhood was privileged, but when I got married, it wasn't a happy thing, you know. And I remember saying, I want change. And yes, now I'm privileged enough to be in America. I'm privileged enough now to sit at the high tables and actually say, you know what, maybe we can do that. But my own country, when Trump says, go back to your countries and help my countries, saying, yes, we are hurt, but it's the truth. When you have people vakaita sana magaisa, vakaita sanani, iwo vana will better, when such talent is hidden, when people, we don't respect such enormous talent, there is no hope. Squanners go back home with any knowledge. The other day, Friday, I had a Chinese young lady saying to me, Petra, I'm here just to say, you know, thank you for everything you did. I'm actually going back home because now I've got all the accreditation that I needed, and I'm going to a really good life. So if somebody can actually get on a plane to get back to China, to give back to the community, what about us?
Yep. You know, just last little tiny story. On Friday, I got installation for fiber. Okay. We're going to do away with the ADSL and we're going to go fiber. So then I shouldn't have any more problems. But anyway, they came to install the fiber and there were 3 guys. Okay. And the one guy that was doing the work inside the house, I started chatting to him. And I thought, you know, this guy's English is absolutely brilliant. And there isn't that thing that the South Africans do. So I said to him, where are you from? He said, Zimbabwe. I just burst out laughing. Okay. So I said, I'm Zimbabwean too. So anyway, it ended up that out of those 3 guys, 2 of them were Zimbabweans, okay, and they worked for a place, or they involved. It sounds very much like they actually involved in the company, okay, for a company called Cape Fiber, who's contracted by fiber installers to come and put in all the little boxes and all that kind of thing for them. Now, there's 2 young guys. I mean, he's young. He could be my grandson, okay? And they should be doing that kind of work and have that sort of company in Zimbabwe. No, they're here in South Africa. He's been here for 2 years, okay? He's been here for 2 years. And I just looked and I thought, you know, dear God, this should be me sitting in my kitchen in Zimbabwe, in Masvingo, and the guy's coming to install the fiber, and he's a Zimbabwean, and not sitting in a country that I loathe, okay? One thing I'll tell you, you take one of these communities here and leave them without water for 2 days. You're going to have tires burnt, you're going to have trucks burnt, you're going to have streets blocked, you're going to have not just streets, freaking highways blocked. Till what? Not till somebody comes out and starts firing tear gas at them, or somebody comes to shoot at them and rubber bullets them or live shots them or whatever. No, until they have water. So that's one thing I'll say about South Africans. And it don't matter whether it's a community right in the Gangen. If they're supposed to have something and they don't, I tell you what, you're going to have a problem on your hands. A big one. Once again, Zimbabweans couldn't be bothered. It's easier to find somebody else to stand up and do the shouting and the screaming and the performing. And when it gets too hairy, they'll leave you behind, and you'll be standing there with the spooks and the tokoloshes, and that's it, okay? Zimbabweans have to get back, or I don't know, they have to get that spirit back that they had during the Liberation War, because, hey, this can't keep on. Okay, well, but you want to say a final word?
Oh, my final word is, well, I think it is important that even with only 3 people who still care passionately about Zimbabwe, it is, you make the difference. And I really would like to encourage anyone who gets to listen to this tape to really start taking the issue of doing something for other people seriously, because I think that's the only way Zimbabwe is going to be saved. And before I go, Toko, I think I've heard that beep, beep, it could be your fire alarm battery getting low.
Oh my God, do you know, this is nothing. Last weekend, the whole weekend, we had carbon monoxide, until we took tape and we taped it. So they are computerized, they've got an error somewhere, and you're like, this is a new house. You're not supposed to be having this. I'm sorry, I'm so done. Oh my God. Yeah, it's better when you're a lodger, because you just call the landlord and you're like, can you fix it? My husband was like, just tape it up and, you know, it will shut up by itself. It did, but now it's started beeping. Oh my God. You have no
And
idea.
listen, at least you've got all those things. Yeah, in this house, it's a lovely little house and everything, and I'm frozen. I'm sitting with 3 long sleeve t-shirts, 2 pairs of trousers,
oh my
2
God.
pairs of socks.
Yeah, that sounds like Minnesota, really.
And because there's no heating, we don't have central heating. And then in the summer, when we're all sweating and melting like stalk margarine, okay?
Yeah.
There's no air conditioning.
Oh my God. We were so lucky. So these people were, they were offering home and land package. And so they would build the house and use, top-notch tech things. But then one comes up with, occasionally you just find, especially these alarms. So they are connected to the electricity. So not only do they have, the batteries, they're also connected to the electricity. And these are not meant for cooking sadza and, mazondo and things that, so they're always beeping, whatever.
Oh dear. Listen, it don't matter where we live, okay? There's always something.
Yeah.
There's always something. Anyway, have you said your final word, Wilbert, or is there anything more you'd like to add?
I'm happy. I'm quite happy.
Good. And you, Toko, anything more you'd like to add?
You know what? Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you. I just enjoyed this program. So thank you. I hope really we do this more often. Because Sundays I'm home.
Bless you.
That's fair. So yeah, thank you so much. And I hope one or two people get to hear it, and that's how change happens anyways.
Yeah, well, you guys must share it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then my email address, if anybody else would like to come up on the panel, email me at misty50, all in small letters, at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Okay. If you forget it, then leave a message underneath the video in the comments section on YouTube. Okay. And you email me, and I'll email you back a link to come up on the panel. Now, we've got a bit of a problem because apparently Hangouts is finishing on the 3rd of August or something. Now, I'm having a problem getting another program, okay, that we can use through YouTube to have a panel, okay? So, if all goes well, and if I can find something that we can use, okay, we will be back again on Sunday at Zimbabwean and South African time, 10 o'clock. And anybody who wants to join the panel, get up on the panel and discuss. This is for anybody. This is not a party thing, okay, because none of us are aligned to any party.
Yeah.
This is Zimbabwean political discussion. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. But anybody want to join, get up on the panel on a Sunday night. My email address, once again, misty50, all small letters, and the 50 is words, not numbers, at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you want to say your good nights?
Yeah. Thanks very much, everybody. You may be listening, and thank you, Sally, for hosting it. And thanks, Toko. I was saying to Sally when you were traveling, struggling to get you on the line, that Sally is not going to start until you come.
Bless you.
No, Wilbert can't survive another Sally meltdown. Okay.
Wow. There's no such thing as a meltdown. We all miss home. Home is home.
Yep. And your closing word, I mean, your good night. Sorry, I'm intervened again.
You know what? Change begins with one person, one foot in front of the other. And I hope this is just the beginning of us collectively, Ubuntu. Just Ubuntu change because of us. With that, good night, everybody, wherever you are. Take care and blessings. Bye-bye.
Right, good night, panel. Thank you very much for being here tonight. And Zimbabweans, wherever you are, have a good evening, good day, good afternoon, whatever. And be good to each other. Turn around turn everything around and support each other. Good night. See you next Sunday night, God willing.